Hey guys, let's do a quick little astrology minute, all right? We're going to talk about politics for a moment. Not really so much the rhetoric side of politics, but I'm just going to be taking a look at Donald Trump's chart, United States chart. I'm going to show you a few of the little techniques that I use that are very amateur mundane astrology techniques, okay? Just so that you know, I'm not a professional mundane astrologer at all. I think it's fascinating, and I really enjoy just playing around with things because I'm not invested in any particular system, so you might enjoy it as well. You know, when I first started with astrology, you might be the same way. You might be thinking, I don't know, I don't care about what's happening, you know, in world politics. But what's really cool about mundane astrology, and what's very important, is it's the context that our lives emerge from, right? So understanding the collective and what we're going through on a collective level, because as a people, you know, the United States was our chart that we use. I use the Sibley, you know. It was founded in 1776. And so it's been around and alive and kicking while we've only been here for part of that time. So looking at how the United States has evolved and changed relative to the players now, it's a powerful tool. It'll help you with your forecasting, with just with other people, with yourself. You'll learn new things through just observing kind of these bigger, moving. It feels like it's almost this behemoth, but because it's been moving for a while, you can catch patterns more easily, and also you're removed from it emotionally. So it's just kind of easier to go, oh, Saturn's opposite the sun. That doesn't look so fun, right? So let's talk about what we're seeing. And basically, I'm using the Sibley chart, which is the chart that sets the United States ascendant at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So you can get it on astro.com if you want to play along. Otherwise, you can just listen to me. And then I'm looking at Donald Trump's chart as well, which is his birth info is easy. It's readily available. So basically, when you're looking at a country, it's fascinating to take a peek at the leader of the country in a Davison with the country's chart, the national chart. It'll show you, I believe, the leader's perspective. I feel like it's because he's human. There's, you know, that one person, that subjective human element, you know, is going to come into more. It tells us more about that chart than the country itself. And in the chart, the Davison for Trump in the United States, you've got a pretty busy ninth house. Lots of Cancer, okay? So, in fact, I have it up here. Let me just grab it. It's like Sun, South Node, Venus, Mars, Ceres, you know, and then the MC, and then Mercury, all in Cancer. So, ninth house, of course, is our house that has to do with beliefs, ideologies, politics, etc. And remember, this is going to be more Trump's perception of the United States. And the Mercury, it's so great. Mercury in Cancer, which he is a Mercury in Cancer in the 11th house in his birth chart, right? Mercury's in Cancer, and it's right next to the MC, which is sort of the leader, right? The father, the dad, or what have you. So I think he does see himself as someone who's in a position that, and we also have a Mars square ascendant, square descendant. So he does feel embattled, for sure. In office, he feels embattled, and then he should, because he is embattled. Point is, right now we have Saturn, transiting Saturn at 14 degrees of Capricorn, 13, 14. So that is right on, it's opposite the United States sun, which for a country, that represents the vitality of the country. It's just the country itself. Saturn does have to do with things slowing down or being restricted. So there's your government shutdown. And there's more details I could go into, but I'm trying to make this quick and brief for you guys. And the fact that it's also Saturn's on top of his north node that he shares in the Davison chart, which is at 13 and 14 of Capricorn. So it's kind of like all these events coming together. And in fact, the month of, this is what I think is going to happen. So just if you're just wanting to know about the shutdown, I do believe that once Saturn gets to 15 degrees, and once we'll have our new moon as well, the beginning, the first week of February, we'll be back in business. So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a compromise. It's going to be a shitty compromise. No one's going to be happy. Trump especially, because Saturn opposes the Venus that he has at 15 degrees of Cancer. He definitely isn't going to feel like he was the expert negotiator in this situation, but neither will the other side. It's kind of like there is some sort of a deal that's made just so they can say they made a deal. But then after, you'll notice that if you look at like his progress chart, and there's a few other places where his Mars gets activated. You know, his progressed moon moves to conjoin with his Mars in February, and he's like fighting. He's like a caged tiger, basically. So something's going to go down in March where he's going to be a little unpredictable and wily. February. March just looks like a month where there is a lot of things happening, coming to the surface that we didn't even know about. Perhaps it's got something to do with the investigation. I haven't looked yet at all. I just peeked just barely, but I didn't go in and like dig around. So point is, government shutdown. I do think that there's going to be some sort of an announcement, maybe an announcement this week. It kind of feels like they'll be talking about it, of course, but still slightly unsure about the exact date. But then that, as I said, at that first week, which is going to be, give you as far as dates, it's like the 4th? Yeah, like the 4th of February. By then, I think people will be back to work. So, not the best news for people who are not working right now, but the government is slow. And especially right now, Saturn opposite the sun, the vitality, the movement, lots of Two of Swords, this idea of things being at a standstill is happening. The other thing is our progressed, as a country, in our progressed chart, the United States is at 14 degrees of Pisces, right? And that's where Neptune's at right now, 14 degrees of Pisces. And so that causes a weakening of sort of, again, that vital force. It's a weakening of the coherence of an entity, its ability to stand in its presence and be like, we're America. Because right now, there are all of these young, new progressive individuals that are starting to fill up the seats in Congress. And so the legislative branch, we're going to be experiencing some shifts. The voices of the people are, younger people are getting old enough now to run in politics, and they're bringing their voice. So the millennials will start trickling in, and we need them because they are the ones that are going to help us get sort of prepared for this next phase. Side note, very quickly, if you've ever studied quantum computing, yesterday I was looking at way in the future with the United States, and I was like, oh my gosh, I believe that at some point, like with quantum computing, that we will have the ability very easily to solve all of our huge, major, global economic crises, health issues, etc. I think computers, once quantum computing is a reality, will be able to simply very quickly solve these problems. But the other side of the coin is, then I think some of the solutions will be less than, it's kind of like that movie Interstellar, when you sort of were assessed and then the government told you, okay, well, this is your intelligence level and your aptitude, so you're going to be a farmer, or what have you. So it does feel a little bit like we're going to be bumping up against ideas that, not communism, but I think with the millennials, because they are more interested in sort of an equanimity for, equal rights for everyone having access to healthcare, everyone having access to education, because they're right now being directly impacted by it. They have these insane student loans and that kind of thing that they've been saddled with. And so I do believe in the next 20 years, we're going to see huge changes and shifts in how we approach our collective problems as a species, not just as Americans. So I also think that the transition from fossil fuels into alternative energy sources is going to be really messy. It's going to destabilize the Middle East, which, as we know, is already not necessarily stable. So, and China too. So very interesting to see how things kind of unfold. I don't think it's scary doom and gloom. I also think it's possible the United States experiences some sort of a civil war, but it, to me, doesn't feel like an actual battle, not like we're with guns necessarily, but more like division of our beliefs. We're quite divided now, but the country has always been divided. Don't let people fool you. If you study your history, U.S. politics have always been as rancorous as they are now. So, one last thing. Something I saw yesterday was, the United States moon is at 27 degrees of Aquarius, and our Pluto is at 27 degrees of Capricorn. And of course, we have Pluto in Capricorn now, and we will be experiencing our Pluto return, which is a big deal. But if you think about what this means, to me, this stands for the fact that we were a country that came from an empire, right? We were a colony, and we were feeling like we weren't being properly represented. To me, that's Pluto in Capricorn. That was us coming from the British Empire, basically, and others. But And then the moon in Aquarius was us creating our own new home, right? They're in a semi-square to each other. That is an uncomfortable aspect. Those that have power and those that are trying, the collective, the people. And the fact that we initially were a country that there's freedom for white men, basically. Wealthy white men had freedom. So we still were a little stuck, right? Still a little stuck in that old paradigm. So as Pluto comes to conjoin with our natal Pluto, there will definitely be pressures that have come to bear on us, that things that will need to be addressed that have to do with our disparity of wealth and also disparity of values, okay, and that sort of thing. So we're going to have to figure some things out. Okay, that's it. Back to readings. Okay, hope you have a good one, and yeah, take care. Okay, bye-bye.